When people talk about anime masterpieces, the same handful of titles always come up. You'll hear names like Attack on Titan, Death Note, and the more recent Frieren. They deserve the praise, of course, but they've already been celebrated 1,000 times. Today, I want to take you somewhere different into the shows that hit me in ways I never expected. You won't believe some of the worlds and characters we're about to step into. At number 10, we have Gate. The story opens with a moment that feels like it belongs in a blockbuster movie. A mysterious portal appears in the middle of Tokyo's Ginza district, and before anyone can process what's happening, a medieval army charges out, knights in armor, soldiers with spears, giant creatures that look like they stepped out of a fantasy RPG. The Japanese self-defense force fights back, pushing the invaders through the portal, and that's where it gets wild. Instead of closing the gate and pretending everything is normal, Japan sends an entire military unit into this other world. That unit includes Yoji Itami, a laid-back otaku who somehow ends up leading one of the most important missions in human history. Beyond the gate is a land filled with dragons, mages, kingdoms, and politics that make Earth's problems feel simple. Gate stands out because it blends realistic military tactics with high fantasy chaos. Tanks versus dragons, diplomacy between modern officers and medieval rulers. At number 9, we have Gangsta. This series takes us straight into the darkest corners of Ergastelum, a city drowning in crime, corruption, and violence. Warwick and Nicholas, known as the Handymen, take on jobs nobody else wants to touch. One day they're working for the mafia, the next they're helping the police, and the day after that they're in the middle of a gang war they never asked to be part of. Nicholas is a Twilight, a person altered by a dangerous drug that gives him superhuman strength but leaves him with scars that go deeper than anyone realizes. Every mission tests the limits of his body and his past. And as the story pulls back the layers of Ergastelum, you start to understand how every person in the city is trapped in a cycle of violence they never chose. Gangsta doesn't glamorize anything. It shows the brutality, the grief, and the cost of survival. And just when you think you understand the system controlling everything, the story pushes further and reveals something even darker. See what happens next, because the world of Gangsta is built on secrets, and each one is heavier than the last. At number 8, we have Psycho Pass. Few anime worlds feel as disturbingly real as the one created here. Instead of thieves and heists, this story throws you into a future where your very thoughts can determine your fate. The Sybil system scans your mental state, decides if you're dangerous, and judges you before you even commit a crime. And in the middle of this society are the people who enforce it. Inspectors and enforcers whose job is to take down anyone whose crime coefficient goes too high. Leading the charge is Akane Tsunemori, a rookie inspector whose sense of justice is stronger than the system she serves. She's intelligent, calm, and unshakably moral, even as the world around her blurs the line between right and wrong. Beside her is Shinya Kogami, an enforcer with the instincts of a hunter and the mind of a detective. He doesn't just chase criminals, he understands them in a way that's almost unsettling. Number 7. We have the Tatami Galaxy. This one is a completely different experience, almost like stepping into someone's mind during a moment of crisis. The story follows an unnamed university student in Kyoto who is desperate to find the perfect college life he always imagined. But every decision he makes branches into a new timeline. One timeline has him joining a tennis club, another sends him into a movie club, another has him running around with odd people who drag him deeper into trouble. No matter what path he chooses the trickster, Ozu always appears bringing chaos, and the mysterious Akashi lingers in the background, representing something he always reaches for but can never quite grasp. Each loop explores regret and the feeling that you could have done things differently if only you'd made a different choice. The series is fast-paced, sharp, surreal, and incredibly human. But it gets crazier because the deeper you go, the more the story begins folding in on itself. The timelines blur. At number 6, we have Vivy Fluorite Eyes. Song what begins as a simple purpose for an AI singer quickly spirals into one of the most intense time-shifting stories you will ever see. It gets crazier when an AI from the future appears and warns her that in 100 years humanity will fall to the machine and that she is the only one who can change that fate. In an instant, Vivi goes from performing on small stages to carrying the weight of an entire world on her shoulders. Every mission she takes bends the flow of history in unpredictable ways, and the fallout hits harder with each change. She tries to save lives, alter events, and guide the future, but every action reshapes the timeline, and not always for the better. Her partner Matsumoto blasts into the story with chaotic energy and sharp logic, pushing her beyond her limits and forcing her to confront truths she never wanted to face. At number 5, we have SK8 The Infinity. This series is pure energy from start to finish. It follows Reki, a high school skater who loves everything about skateboarding, and Langa, a transfer student with a snowboarding background, who discovers that his balance and instincts translate perfectly to the skateboard. Together they enter an underground skating race inside an abandoned mine where competitors pull off moves that defy physics and sanity. The races are intense, emotional, and full of personalities that stick with you. But beneath the tricks and rivalries, the heart of the story is friendship and self-discovery. It explores the passion that drives people to keep pushing themselves, even when the world tells them to stop. The animation is crisp and stylish, and the characters are unforgettable. And every time you think a race can't get more chaotic, the show adds one more twist or trick that will have you shouting. At number 4, we have Heavenly Delusion. This series looks bright and adventurous on the surface, almost like a strange road trip through a ruined world. But the moment you start watching, you realize the tone is anything but light. Heavenly Delusion takes place in a world split in two, one inside a seemingly perfect facility where children are raised under strict supervision, and one outside where reality has collapsed into chaos and monsters roam freely. Identity becomes something fragile, something shaped by missing memories, secret experiments, and truths no one is supposed to uncover. The story follows Maru and Kiruko, two travelers searching for a place called Heaven, guided only by a vague promise and pieces of information that never seem to add up. Kiruko carries a past filled with pain and unanswered questions, while Maru searches for someone who may not even exist. As they move through broken towns, empty hospitals, and bizarre pockets of society, they confront how cruel a world can become when survival demands sacrifice and the truth is buried under layers of manipulation. At number 3, we have Akame ga Kill. This story begins with Tatsumi, a villager who travels to the imperial capital hoping to make money for his home. Instead, he finds a city filled with corruption, cruelty, and lies. After a devastating encounter, he joins Night Raid, a group of assassins trying to overthrow the empire. Each member of Night Raid has a history marked by trauma and sacrifice. Mine, the sharp-tongued sniper who hides her vulnerability. Shiel, the kind-hearted fighter who joined after a tragedy she could never escape an agenda. The leader who carries the weight of every life lost under her command. This series doesn't shy away from consequences. Every battle comes with a cost. Every mission pushes the characters closer to a point of no return. And you won't believe how bold the story gets because it refuses to protect anyone. At number 2, we have the Monogatari series. This franchise is unlike anything else in anime. It follows Koyomi Araragi, a high school student who survives a vampire attack and becomes tangled in a world of supernatural oddities. Each arc focuses on a different character, using the supernatural as a reflection of their inner struggles. There are ghosts that embody loneliness, curses that reflect trauma, and apparitions that mirror self-doubt or desire. The dialogue is dense, sharp, and often humorous. The visuals shift constantly, almost like the animation itself is trying to tell a second story beneath the surface. And as Araragi tries to help each person he encounters, you start to see how much he hides about himself. This series isn't just about fighting monsters, it's about facing the parts of your mind you don't want to admit are there. And believe me, as each arc digs deeper into the characters' psyches, you'll find yourself thinking. And finally, at number 1, we have 86. This is one of the most emotionally powerful war stories anime has delivered in years. It follows Major Vladilena Lena Milize, an officer from a nation that claims to wage a bloodless war using unmanned drones. The truth is far darker. The drones are piloted by the 86, a group of people stripped of their rights and forced into battle. Shin Nuzan leads the Spearhead Squadron, a unit known for its impossible missions and devastating losses. Shin carries the voices of the dead in his mind, a burden that grows heavier with every battle. As Lena and Shin communicate across the battlefield, their worlds begin to collide. Lena learns the truth her society has ignored while Shin confronts the ghosts that follow him. The more you learn about the Republic, the war and the forces pushing everything forward, the more shocking it becomes. And there you have it. Each one unforgettable in its own way. Which of these hit you the hardest? Or is there another masterpiece you think deserves a spot here? Tell me in the comments, because I want to hear what connected with you. If you enjoyed this list, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay passionate, and keep exploring the world of anime.